Hi there. This is going to be my multimedia presentation for TCH430, being done spring semester 2019. My name's Pete, in case you don't know. Just for full disclosure, so that you understand, a lot of people in this class are teachers, actual instructors, whether it be grade school, high school, things of that nature. My teaching experience is a little bit different because as a graduate student, I do hold an assistantship over in the Center of Teaching, Learning, and Technology, where I directly offer support for ISU's Learning Management System, ReggieNet. Now, I've said many times before, I'm not an actual teacher per se. As I've gone through the course and things of that nature, I've learned that yes, I do actually teach because I facilitate clinics. I do one-to-one consultation. I do virtual consultation through Zoom, various things of that nature. But I do have sessions, whether, ranging anywhere from an hour to 2 hours to 4 hours, where I instruct faculty and graduate teaching assistants on how to use ReggieNet, problems they might encounter, and different things of that nature. So first thing to understand, I'm going to be using a technology that we have over here. It's one of our newest devices, and it's actually pretty neat. This is what's called Studio Glass, and it gives me an opportunity to present to you what I'm doing and write and interact with you without necessarily having to put my back to the audience. So watch this here. So right here, that is my lab, okay? It looks a little bit different because obviously it's a still image. Given the climate that I typically teach in, I'm not necessarily able to record a presentation or one of my quote-unquote clinics or a lecture, as some might say. So you'll have to kind of use your imagination with me. Up in this area here is an interactive whiteboard that I have. That's where I do a lot of things. I can also make a virtual whiteboard, interactive presentations, things like that. It is touch sensitive. It's not exactly like your smart boards, but similar because I can interact with it, and there's some different technologies that I incorporate with that in my presentations. And if you'll see around in the remainder of the image, there's computers at every station. Now, there's a lot of times I do get faculty that come in, bring their own computers or a tablet, something like that. But in the event that they come over and they don't have something like that, I do have plenty available for those. In the 2 years that I've been conducting these clinics, my presentations have gone through many different modifications. Initially, I used to have a script that I went off of, and I had, 1 here, 2 here, 3 here. It was very structured. And then as time went on, I learned to be able to modify my presentation. Now, every course that I facilitate has a handout. Every tool that we have clinics for has a handout that contains the content in technical terms, what to do. As long as I cover majority of that content, doesn't matter how it's presented, but as long as it gets presented, we're good. Now this works as the subject matter expert because I can take the information in that, and based on the questions that I'm given, I can manipulate the style of my presentation. So if I have overview, I've got the setup, I've got settings, I've got advanced settings, right? Well, if everybody in my clinic has the basic overview and they've got the setup, they're just having a problem with the settings and the advanced settings, then I can give them tips and tricks. I do have a lot of participants who come in where they've tried working through it on their own, and they've got themselves in a pickle, okay? Understand also, as I'm going through getting questions, I'm taking notes, because that will determine how I set up my presentation. As I've become familiar with the content, I can manipulate those various factors and those variables in order to make a complete presentation that everybody understands. I can also make these notes in an effort to, as I approach a specific question or answering it, making sure that they understand. And if they don't, I can make sure that I exercise clarity and concision. Because, as I've said in my discussion group a couple different times, time is valuable. That's something that I had a difficulty getting a grasp on. Everybody's got a deadline. And faculty members, when they come over here for a clinic, they don't always have 3 hours to dedicate to what they're doing. So if I exercise concision and clarity, I can make sure that I'm getting my message across to the faculty members to make sure that they understand everything that they need to. And if they don't, the most important thing, who do they call? I tell them they can either contact me. I give them the best ways to get in contact with me, advise them of my 24-hour email response policy. I can tell them they can get in contact with somebody else in the office if they have an emergency. But knowing what I know about instructors and faculty, they might be doing things at weird hours. But I give them information how to contact me. How can you get a hold of me? How soon can you expect a response back? And I do place urgency on all that because A, they're taking time to say, I need help, right? The first thing to understand is that a lot of times people don't know what their problem is right away. And being able to understand, discern, and diagnose that problem even before they do is troubleshooting. Or problem solving. Right? We discussed investigation and problem-based learning. Being able to address problems before they come up, troubleshooting techniques. Hey, if you get into this, you're working on your settings and this happens, this is why, and this is how you can prevent it. Does that make sense? So that's what I've got. My clinics are in a constant state of revision because I'm constantly trying to improve. Now, the other thing that I do have is I do have assessment. I have an assessment. We have a questionnaire and a survey that everybody who comes in to participate, I encourage them to fill it out. Strictly anonymous. No identifying information there, and as a matter of fact, I don't see it for about three or 4 weeks, maybe a couple months. It's up for request. If there's a problem, obviously those higher up the food chain let me know sooner, but I also make sure that, hey, please understand, I'm on a constant quest to improve. So therefore, your feedback is valuable to me. Since I incorporated this new style of presentation, asking their questions, taking notes, being able to manipulate the variables in my presentation, my assessment scores have increased. Now, granted, not everybody's going to be happy because not everybody's going to get it, right? But I do deal with more adults than I do kids. So therefore, getting that honest opinion and being able to execute some of their criticisms in appropriate time manner places urgency on the situation. That's what I have right there. Thanks for watching.